Chapter 15. After this the word of Jehovah came to Abram in a vision, saying, Do not fear, Abram. I am a shield for you. Your reward will be very great. Abram replied,
Sovereign Lord Jehovah, what will you give me, seeing that I continue childless, and the one who will inherit my house is a man of Damascus, Eliezer?
Abram added,
You have given me no offspring, and a member of my household is succeeding me as heir.
But look, Jehovah's word in reply to him was, This man will not succeed you as heir, but your own son will succeed you as heir. He now brought him outside and said, Look up, please, to the heavens, and count the stars, if you are able to do so. Then he said to him, So your offspring will become. And he put faith in Jehovah, and he counted it to him as righteousness. Then he added, I am Jehovah, who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans, to give you this land as your possession. To this he said,
Sovereign Lord Jehovah, how will I know that I will take possession of it?
He replied to him, Take for me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old lamb, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. So he took all of these and cut them in two, and put each part opposite the other. But he did not cut up the birds. Then the birds of prey began to descend on the carcasses, but Abram kept driving them away. When the sun was about to set, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and a great and frightening darkness descended on him. Then he said to Abram, Know for certain that your offspring will be foreigners in a land not theirs, and that the people there will enslave them and afflict them for 400 years. But I will judge the nation they will serve, and after that they will go out with many goods. As for you, you will go to your forefathers in peace. You will be buried at a good old age. But they will return here in the 4th generation, because the era of the Amorites has not yet reached its full measure. When the sun had set, and it had become very dark, a smoking furnace appeared, and a fiery torch passed between the pieces. On that day, Jehovah made with Abram a covenant, saying, To your offspring I will give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates, the land of the Kenites, the Kenizzites, the Cadmonites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. Chapter 16. Now Abram's wife Sarai had borne him no children, but she had an Egyptian servant whose name was Hagar. So Sarai said to Abram,
Please now, Jehovah has prevented me from bearing children. Please have relations with my servant. Perhaps I can have children by means of her.
So Abram listened to what Sarai said. After Abram had lived for 10 years in the land of Canaan, Abram's wife Sarai took her Egyptian servant Hagar and gave her to her husband Abram as his wife. So he had relations with Hagar, and she became pregnant. When she realized that she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress. At this Sarai said to Abram,
The injury done to me is your fault. I was the one who put my servant in your arms. But when she realized that she was pregnant, she began to despise me. May Jehovah judge between me and you.
So Abram said to Sarai,
Look, your servant is under your authority. Do to her whatever you think is best.
Then Sarai humiliated her, and she ran away from her. Later, Jehovah's angel found her at a spring of waters in the wilderness, the spring on the way to Shur. And he said,
Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from? And where are you going?"
To this she said,
I am running away from my mistress, Sarai.
Jehovah's angel then said to her,
"Return to your mistress, and humble yourself under her hand.
Then Jehovah's angel said,
I will greatly multiply your offspring, so that they will be too numerous to count."
Jehovah's angel added,
"Here you are pregnant, and you will give birth to a son, and you must name him Ishmael, for Jehovah has heard your affliction. He will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand will be against him, and he will dwell opposite all his brothers."
Then she called on the name of Jehovah, who was speaking to her,
You are a God of sight.
for she said,
Have I here actually looked upon the one who sees me?
That is why the well was called Beer-lahai-roi. It is between Kadesh and Bered. So Hagar bore to Abram a son, and Abram named his son, whom Hagar bore, Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to him. Chapter 17. When Abram was 99 years old, Jehovah appeared to Abram and said to him, I am God Almighty. Walk before me and prove yourself faultless. I will establish my covenant between me and you, and I will multiply you very, very much. At this Abram fell face down, and God continued to speak with him, saying, As for me, look, my covenant is with you, and you will certainly become a father of many nations. Your name will no longer be Abram. Your name will become Abraham, for I will make you a father of many nations. I will make you very, very fruitful, and will make you become nations, and kings will come from you. And I will keep my covenant between me and you and your offspring after you throughout their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be God to you and to your offspring after you. And I will give to you and to your offspring after you the land in which you lived as a foreigner, the entire land of Canaan, for a lasting possession, and I will be their God. God said further to Abraham, As for you, you are to keep my covenant, you and your offspring after you, throughout their generations. This is my covenant between me and you, that you and your offspring after you will keep. Every male among you must get circumcised. You must circumcise the flesh of your foreskins, and it will serve as a sign of the covenant between me and you. Throughout your generations, every male among you 8 days old must be circumcised. Anyone who is born in the house, and anyone who is not one of your offspring, and who is purchased with money from a foreigner. Every man born in your house, and every man purchased with your money, must be circumcised, and my covenant in your flesh must serve as a lasting covenant. If any uncircumcised male will not circumcise the flesh of his foreskin, that person must be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. Then God said to Abraham, As for your wife Sarai, you must not call her Sarai, because Sarah will become her name. I will bless her, and also give you a son by her. I will bless her, and she will become nations. Kings of peoples will come from her. At this Abraham fell face down, and began to laugh, and to say in his heart,
Will a man 100 years old have a child born to him? And will Sarah, a woman 90 years old, give birth?
So Abraham said to the true God,
Oh, that Ishmael might live before you.
To this God said, Your wife Sarah will definitely bear you a son, and you must name him Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant to his offspring after him. But as regards Ishmael, I have heard you. Look, I will bless him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him very, very much. He will produce 12 chieftains, and I will make him become a great nation. However, I will establish my covenant with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you at this appointed time next year." When God finished speaking with him, he went up from Abraham. Abraham then took Ishmael his son, and all the men born in his house, and every one he had purchased with money, every male in the household of Abraham, and he circumcised the flesh of their foreskins on that very day, just as God had spoken with him. Abraham was 99 years old when he had the flesh of his foreskin circumcised, and Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he had the flesh of his foreskin circumcised. On that very day Abraham was circumcised, and also his son Ishmael. All the men of his household, anyone born in the house, and anyone purchased with money from a foreigner, were also circumcised with him.